Hey guys, this is Ben, and in this video I'm going to show you why the Xiaomi Mijia Mi Sphere is the best 360 camera available under $500 right now. A lot of you are following me on Instagram and you'll notice that basically everything I've done in the last month has been shot with the Xiaomi camera. And I know what you're thinking, Xiaomi, what on earth is that? I can't even pronounce that, let alone understand what it is. Well, look, it is an unknown, relatively unknown brand out of China, but they've created something that is a monster that nobody knows about other than the people that myself and Michael from 360 Rumors have told about. This is the best camera. This is better than the Gear 360, the Theta S, and a lot of the other options right now. I know that's shocking to hear because I do talk about the other 360 cameras with a lot of enthusiasm, but this is an area that is growing so quickly that technology is updating and updating every single week. There's something better coming out, and this one changes the game because of many different features. Firstly, the design is really good. It's nice and flat. I really like it. So it's a square as opposed to the kind of round ball or kind of long, thin camera that a lot of the other designs are like. And I like it. It's been a really good camera to take around. It does fit in my pocket, and that's one of the #1 things I look for in a 360 camera. It's got to be pocketable, which means it's portable, which means you can take it out and get shots everywhere you go instead of having to carry around a designated bag, and it's just easy to shoot with. Just like the first Gear 360, it has a little tripod which can be taken off. Very cool and very thin. It has a 1/4 inch tripod thread underneath, which means you can put it on other tripods, selfie sticks and whatnot. So this is a really nice little camera. My only kind of issue with the design is it's hard to put down because it is so thin. You do need to kind of balance it, and I do worry about it falling over if I ever put it like that, so I do keep it on the tripod most of the time. Another small issue I have is because it does have legs like this, they often are in your shots. This is unavoidable, unfortunately, unless you put it on a selfie stick or just put it on the ground. But look, I edit mine out in Snapseed or another program, Photoshop. It's quite easy to remove the tripod, but it's always going to be there. It's just something to keep in mind. But overall, I would say this is one of the better designed cameras. It's nice and thin, it feels really good, it's very solid, and they've used the space around the outside really smartly. It's very simple to pick up. There aren't too many menus or confusing buttons. There's just 3 on the top. There's on, Wi-Fi, and record. The on also doubles as photo video switch between the two. And then it's just got your ports on the side. You have a micro USB, and then there's a micro SD slot in there as well. Most of your settings you can change through the smartphone app. The smartphone app still is in the beginning stages because this is a brand new camera. Essentially, whenever a company comes out with a new camera, their app is going to be in the beginner stages, so you will notice that with both the Android and iPhone version. I'll put them both in the link down below, but don't expect anything too fancy. Okay, let's open up the app. So firstly, you'll just want to pair the camera with your phone. It takes a few seconds. And here we go. Have a preview already that we can look around. And can change between photo and video modes down the bottom right. Bottom left is a link to our gallery. Top right, we have settings, so we can change the resolution of photos and videos. As you can see, the max there is 3456 by 1728, 30 frames a second, and there's a few lower ones. It does 60 frames a second at 2304 by 1152. Okay, white balance, exposure compensation. There's 2 different photo resolutions. Obviously, you're going to want the very highest, so keep it on that. ISO, exposure time. This is a really cool feature. It goes up to 32 seconds, so that means you'll be able to see in the dark. At nighttime, you can do light paintings, and you can go to a really dark area and it'll see it like it's daytime if you set it to one of these longer shutter speeds. You can set a timer, so it can be 2 seconds up to 10 seconds, which is handy if you want to put the camera down and walk away. When you select video mode, you'll notice on the right hand side, if you press that little icon, we have an option to do a time-lapse video. You can essentially record for as long as you want and choose the intervals of when it takes the photos. It should automatically stitch them together for you, which is really handy, and you can view the time lapse as you're recording. And here we have our gallery, where it stitches the photos and videos wirelessly from the camera, and you can view it there in the viewer. And don't I look happy there? Really, the app does the job. It's easy to connect, so that's all you can ask from it. In my experience, the battery life has been good. I would say just as good as all the other 360 cameras. If you're recording in 3.5K, which is the max video resolution, it'll last a good hour, hour and a half. So that's pretty good. There aren't interchangeable batteries, so you will need to charge it. Bring around power banks if you want to do that, but no interchangeable batteries. You can add memory. I think it's up to 256 gigabytes in the micro SD slot. Both of those things are totally sufficient for me. Some people might prefer more battery and more memory. You can actually plug it into the power while you're recording, which is awesome. However, something I found was when I tested it out, it recorded for a long time. I'm talking 2 to 3 hours, and I found that the camera drained slightly more battery than it filled up, which meant after about 3 hours, it ran out of battery from a full charge.
Let's test to see how long this camera can record for without overheating or stopping. I've got a good feeling about this. If I plug it into power, it's going to go for a while. So the time now is just after midday in Sydney. So I'm going to put a brand new 128 gigabyte Samsung card with 100 megabits a second write speed. So this should hopefully go for a while. Hypothetically, it could go for several hours. So I'm gonna whack that bad boy in there. And I will put a link in the description to where you can find this. This is my recommended card of choice, just because it handles 4K footage really, really well. Okay, we're plugged in. Camera goes on. Video mode and record. So let's see how long it's going to take for this camera to overheat. The clock reads 2:30 and it's still going. Let's see if it's warm. Not really. Well, it's got a little bit of warmth, but it doesn't feel like it's going to overheat. I do have a fast card, and that is crucial to getting long recordings, but that is 2.5 hours and this is still going. That is very impressive. Okay, we're at 3 hours 20 minutes and it just went beep, 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 boop, and turned off. So now I'm going to investigate whether the card filled up or whether it did in fact overheat. It looks like there's still 63 gigabytes left on the card. So there was lots of space left, which means it could have gone for about 7 hours or so. And let's have a look at the files. Looks like it's broken up into lots of different sections, so they're roughly 10 minutes each. So it's broken up into 10-minute sections and stopped around the 3 hour 20 mark. I mean, hot damn, I am impressed by that. 3 hours and 20 minutes of 3.5K 360 recording is super impressive.
A big factor you should consider that a lot of cameras have issue with is overheating. Because the design of 360 cameras is so small, they are very likely to overheat, given most of them are recording 4K, and that's a lot to demand of something the size of a pack of cards. And while I haven't actually noticed this with the recording of 3.5K video, I have noticed this with the transferring of files. Whenever I've uploaded footage and photos from this to my iPhone, this got so hot, literally, that it almost burned me. Like, I touched it and I couldn't hold my finger there for more than about 3 or 4 seconds without it being really, really painful. And that surprised me. Like, I honestly thought it was gonna start melting. So it turns out the camera was okay in the end, but it does get really hot during transfers. Just something to keep in mind. If you're in hot climates, it's going to heat up. It may very well overheat. As I said, I haven't experienced that during recording, but during transferring, you just want to be careful, do one clip at a time and don't overload it. So like I said, the video resolution is 3.5K, which is actually really close to 4K. And from what I've seen so far, it looks absolutely excellent. This is one of the best performing 360 video cameras I've worked with so far. I've been shooting all of my Vlogin 360 episodes with this now. I'm not even tempted to use another camera because it just performs so well for video. The resolution looks nice, and the most beautiful thing about this camera, in my opinion, is the 6-axis stabilization. It looks absolutely stunning. You can walk down the street, you can bump the crap out of the camera, yet it'll be completely stable and look like you've got a Steadicam under it. It looks absolutely insane. It's amazing what they're doing with 360 cameras. The fact that they can add amazing features like that just with a firmware update. We have seen this with the Insta360 Nano and Air and Pro, but to be able to do that through a firmware update is just really a testament to how fast this technology is moving, and the fact that you don't actually have to buy another camera, but just wait for the developers to release new features which you can download and then update to your camera. This is the best feature of this camera in my opinion. It's a perfect moving camera. This is great to have in your hand because it's always going to be steady when you're on the go. Something else I love is the dynamic range of this camera. In my experience, it's been excellent. It captures highlights and shadows really well within the same image. For video, it looks exceptional. Look, it does sometimes have issues in high contrast situations where it's brighter on one side than the other, and there are big lens flares. Not lens flares, but disparity between the two lenses where you can see kind of like a border in between the two hemispheres when they're stitched together. All cameras like this, unfortunately. The only solution more or less is to add more lenses, so more than two. However, for a cheap camera like this performs excellently. If you saw my comparison between this and the Gear 360 2017, you'll see that it outperforms the Gear 360 in basically every single way. The stitching was better, it was better handheld, it was better in low light, and the overall look was just better. And that's not to take away from the Gear 360 because it is still a very good camera. But like I said, technology is just evolving so quickly, especially in the 360 field. It seems like almost on a monthly basis now, the totem pole changes and there's a new best camera. And at the moment, this has taken over from the Gear 360 2017. And that shouldn't take away from the Gear 360 camera because it is good in many ways. And it does have a few features that this one doesn't have, like live streaming, and the apps are better. Desktop software. This one doesn't yet have desktop software. However, they are making it, so I think it'll be ready within the next 1 to 2 months, hopefully by maybe August, the end of August 2017. For now, you'll just have to stitch on your phone. For Android, it will stitch in full resolution. Unfortunately, with iPhone, it reduces the resolution a bit. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is for now. You can stitch it on desktop, and I've already made a tutorial that will show you how to do it in Adobe Premiere completely for free. So definitely check that out. Another option for stitching at full resolution is to consider picking up a Xiaomi Redmi Note 4 phone. This is only $165, yet it's going to allow you to import and stitch at full resolution for both photos and videos. This is a good answer for iPhone users if you have an extra $150, $160 to spare, and also Android users if you want a second phone that you can dedicate to just shooting. I find this handy because it means my main phone isn't having the battery drain constantly while I'm shooting. So I'll put a link to this one down in the description. In terms of photo resolution, it's also extremely impressive. The images it takes are 6912 by 3456, and looking at it on my 5K iMac, it looks excellent. I can't see any pixels anywhere really. It's really sharp around the middle. The dynamic range is really nice, and it's just a really professional looking image that captures the moment with such clarity. With that said, it isn't a camera without its flaws. They don't actually have a massive team working on this camera, so they weren't able to anticipate for some things. Like occasionally there's been a bit of a lens disparity where the color temperature has been different from one lens to the other. I've found I have been able to fix this in Snapseed, which is where I grade my tiny planets, but it is annoying. They are working all the time to update their firmware and the apps to avoid these problems, and I've found from interacting on the Xiaomi Facebook group, they are highly responsive and they want to know all the problems with the camera so they can fix them. I found there's been a few odd quirks that have been inconsistent. I can't tell you exactly when they will show up. I know they will be fixed, and I know from stitching manually, I've been able to fix all of them, but I'll just let you know some of them. One of them is heat lines. I've found sometimes heat lines show up around the seam line only when I stitch on mobile. I think they are probably going to fix this, but that is annoying stitching on mobile. Also, sometimes the horizon is a bit out of whack. If you turn on the camera and press record while the camera's like this, and then you go like this, it'll stabilize the horizon line to be like that. So it's going to be a little bit out of whack. So whenever you are recording, turn the camera on, make sure it's level and the horizon line is level, and then press record. At one time in my life, my heart was dedicated to the Ricoh Theta camera. I took it everywhere I went, Took it out for romantic evenings. Went on long walks with the beach with it. It was everything I wanted from a camera and needed. But now, that part of my heart has been replaced by a camera whose name I can't even pronounce. Yes, I would say the Xiaomi Mijia Mi Sphere is better than the Ricoh Theta S in pretty much every single way. It matches it in many ways, in the excellent dynamic range, image quality, also long exposure. However, the big game changer is the video. This is just the best of the two by far. Because of the 3.5K video, the stabilization, it's just amazing for video. So while they are equal cameras on most fronts, I would say this one is better for video by far, which makes it the better camera. This is the camera I'm recommending to everyone. I get asked every single day, several times a day, which camera should I buy? And I used to say Theta S, no question. Now I'm saying buy this one because firstly it's cheap and secondly it does the most variety of things that a photographer or video shooter could want in the most amount of situations. This has your back in most situations. I haven't really had it let me down yet, whereas I have had a lot of other cameras let me down in some department, whether it's video or photo. This has been a good all-around camera that I really have been using a lot and will be using a lot in the future until the next big thing comes out. Like I say, this technology is moving so fast that almost every single month there's a new king of the 360 cameras. At the moment, it's this one. That's probably going to change. The Theta 4K might knock it off its perch, but for now, this is the best option. Where can you get it? I hear you asking. It's not actually on Amazon or eBay. The place to find it is gearbest.com. I'll put a link down in the description to where you can find it, and it's quite cheap. I think at the moment it's around $300 US, and that does go up and down a bit. Really, it goes from anywhere from $250 to about $350, depending on the day. They do have specials on all the time, so you will want to check it out at the time of watching this video, but that is affordable. I think most people can afford roughly $200 to $300, and for the amount of value it delivers, this is both a photo and a video camera. This is going to be an excellent investment and potentially delivers the most amount of value out of any of the 360 cameras available right now. If you want to see more cool shit that I've done with this camera, definitely follow me on Instagram. I'm at Ben Claremont. Also subscribe to us on YouTube. We're on Facebook as well. I'm posting all the time, every single day, footage with this, photos with this, as well as all the other 360 cameras. I review them, I compare them, and tiny planets, tutorials, all that kind of stuff is covered at Life in 360, so definitely stay tuned for more awesome shit. Cool guys, I hope this was helpful. If anything's still unclear, let me know, put a comment down in the box below and I'll do my best to answer it. I've been using this camera for about a month now, so I've got a pretty good understanding of it. If you do decide to buy this camera or if you've already bought it, there's a Facebook group I'd recommend you join. I'll put a link down in the description, but it's essentially filled with all the other users of this camera who can help you out if you have any questions, as well as me. I'll do my best, but those guys are really smart and they're posting all the cool stuff that they're shooting with it, so I think you'll find that group really interesting. Until next time, keep capturing your world in 360. This is your boy Ben Claremont, and I'll see you in the next video.